Welcome to the Schools of Excellence podcast, where we transform everyday leadership struggles into powerful legacies that impact generations. I'm your host, Chanie, a 20-year veteran of school leadership who has helped hundreds of school leaders achieve what many thought was impossible through our signature programs, School Leadership HQ and Enrollment Engine. With our battle-tested frameworks and blueprints, leaders have achieved 90% parent retention, 50% less staff turnover, 15% improved profit margins, and increased enrollment by 25%. My mission is simple: to revolutionize school leadership by elevating the skills, the habits, and mindset of passionate leaders ready to create lasting change. Join me as we build your legacy of excellence, one transformative conversation at a time.
Welcome back to the Schools of Excellence podcast. Today we're going to be talking about how to create energy on demand. So sometimes leadership still needs you, even when you're exhausted. You don't get to say, oh, I'm tired, I'm not going in today. You still have to smile at drop-off, still have to answer the parent email. Associations and licensing still call you. The text still comes in and says, do you have a minute? And within all that fatigue, you start to tell yourself a story. I just need to get away. I just need a weekend away. I just need a vacation. Next week's going to be a lighter week. I just need to get that software that I saw at that conference. I need to implement that system that I heard at that retreat. Then I'm going to have energy again. There's just something that's missing. And when I find that missing thing, I'm going to have energy. I used to believe that lie for years. You are not one system and one vacation away from feeling alive. That's not. Energy is not something that you find. It is something that you create in middle of the chaos, in middle of the mess, in middle of the grief, in middle of the overwhelm. Okay? We think of energy that it comes from rest or quiet. And it can, but that's not the only place that it comes from. Because what I found is waiting for energy is like waiting for clarity. Clarity doesn't show up magically. Clarity comes from action. You act your way to new thinking. It's a famous quote from David Marquet, who wrote the book, Turn the Ship Around. You act your way to new thinking. So you act your way to clarity because you'll be waiting forever. You need to learn how to create energy on demand, because when you work with children and when you've chosen a career path of working with humans, it means that you understand that there will be a constant low-level grade of chaos, of ambiguity, and uncertainty. That is what you signed up for. So the lie that you're waiting, that soon it's going to be quiet and still and easy and everything's going to run smooth. It's like, have you ever had a day like that yet? And I know that you haven't, but you believe the lie that one day it's coming. But quiet, a full day of quiet, is when you're dead, because that's when you're not surrounded by humans and people that love you and people that care about you and people that you want to show up for. Like, when's the quiet day? You don't want quiet. That's an illusion. You want relief. You want peace. You want safety. But you say, just everyone stop talking to me. Stop needing me. Stop making me make decisions. And so then you become exhausted. You're not exhausted because you didn't sleep. You're not exhausted that you just need a 30-minute nap. You're not exhausted because you didn't eat breakfast. All of those could be true, but that is not the theme of your exhaustion. About 2 years ago, when I was very much in the thick of writing the book and we were in a season of grief, my father-in-law just passed away. I was a couple months after my first miscarriage. And I came to Todd, and I write about this in my book, This Can't Be Normal. And I said, I am exhausted. I need to protect my energy. And Todd turned to me and he said, what if you don't need to protect your energy? What if you could create it? And I looked at him and said, that's absurd. I just told you that I'm exhausted. I need to protect my energy. And now you're telling me that I should create my energy. And I wrestled with this for a really long time, because what Todd had helped me recognize was that my entire identity at that point was around self-preservation, guarding, conserving, defending my warmth and my energy. I want to be a beacon of light in the world. I want my warmth. I want to be a lighthouse. And if I want to be that person, and I am that person, and if I want to continue to be that person, that means that I cannot operate from a place of preservation, guarding, conserving, defending, I have to be in a place of creation because that is aliveness. So some of the insight that I had after that conversation was I had been an emotional battery for every single person who interacted with me. For my husband who was walking through grief, for my team that was going through transitions, for my clients that were going through crises, for my kids that were navigating their own seasons of life, for my friends that were going through their things, for my community that was going through their stuff, for my parents that were navigating their things. I was the emotional battery that every single person plugged themselves into. That cracked me open. I needed to stop being an emotional battery for everyone, and I needed to learn how to really be my own generator. Now, pause this for a moment and sit with this experience, because I know that if you're listening to this podcast, you're probably experiencing something similar to this, where you are the emotional battery for the people that you love, the people that you care about, the people that you show up for. That conversation with Todd didn't just change my energy. It completely flipped my entire identity, because I stopped being the guardian of what I had left, of like, well, I have this much in the pie left for energy, so who gets it? Does Mayor get a little bit today? Do the kids get a little bit today? Do my clients get a little bit today? Do I get a little bit today? Like, who gets this little sprinkle dust of energy that's left of me? And instead, I was like, no, I am a beacon of light. I am the lighthouse, which means I create the energy. You are not exhausted because you are doing too much, even though you are doing too much. You are exhausted because you are holding too much. You are holding everyone's emotions, everyone's outcomes, everyone's anxieties, everyone's fear. That's not fatigue. That's over-functioning, over-holding. So how do you actually create energy on demand, right? And we do this extensively in School Leadership HQ when I work with clients one-on-one or in consults or in our membership, different ways that we work with school leaders. And so if you're interested in working with Schools of Excellence, click the link in the show notes. There's an application and we can have a conversation. So how do we actually create energy? So I want to talk about first the science of energy creation, because this is not just me talking about a personal experience or data from working with clients. This is backed by science, okay? There is a physiological activation of the body that leads to the mind, okay? So your body, if you move it and breathe into it, you change its chemistry, okay? So think about your morning walk, okay? If you walk to school, let's say, slouched and silent, if you walk into the building, right? I'm talking about like your morning walk into the building. So you walk into the building and you walk in like your head is down, your shoulders are slouched, you're silent, but not in a peaceful kind of silent, in a kind of like nobody come near me kind of silent. The entire building is heavy, okay? But if you walk in and you take a breath and you roll your shoulders back and you open your eyes and you smile, you just change the entire weather system in your entire school. Something I was working on with my daughter, Hyla, she's in 5th grade. And we were talking about friendship and different things like that. And I said, the most popular girls in the school are the people who smile the most. And she's like, really? And I say, yeah, think about the girls that everyone likes. Why do people like them? Because they're happy. So your challenge is when you're in the hallway, anyone who you see, even if they're not in your class, you wave or smile at them. And she's like, oh, that's so awkward. I'm like, yep. And you'll live and you'll learn how to smile, because smiling is going to change something in you, which means it's going to bring something beautiful to the other person. And so again, like I was saying, how do you create energy? I'm going to walk you through some simple steps and some rhythms, but this is the science behind energy creation. Just a breath and the way that you hold your body immediately creates energy. Okay. Let's talk about cognitive framing. Okay. What you say shapes how you feel. Words create your experience. They create your reality. So your brain obeys the story that you tell it. So when you tell yourself, I can't deal with this today, your nervous system agrees. Okay, Chanie can't deal with this today. But if you say, okay, this is what's right in front of me, your brain will look for fuel instead of escape routes. So instead of saying, I'm exhausted, and now your body obeys and says, okay, I guess we're exhausted, I need to reorient my energy right now. Hey, school owners, I see you. You've built the team, you've trusted others with the work, and somehow it still feels like everything lands on your shoulders. And that weight is exhausting. What if you could stop carrying it all alone? What if you can finally see exactly where your leadership is getting stuck and what to do next? That's where the strategic leadership scorecard was made for. In just 2 minutes, it will give you a clear diagnosis in one of the core areas of leading a school: enrollment, financial health, staff culture, or parent engagement. You'll get practical steps and trusted resources to help you lighten your load and unlock real ownership in your team to be able to lead with confidence. You deserve this level of steadiness. So take the scorecard now so you can lead with clarity and know that your school runs on shared ownership, real standards, and rhythms of accountability. Shift in language produces a biochemical shift in your energy, right? You can say, what's one rhythm I can return to right now? How can I find some relief in this moment? I need a little bit of peace. Maybe go out and get some sunshine. As I tell my son, go touch grass. Okay. They're not just jokes. They're real. They completely shift the biochemical energy inside of you. Third component from a science component of energy creation is emotional containment. You got to stop the leaks. Energy drains not from doing, from holding. And I talk about this in my chapter on generosity in my book, This Can't Be Normal. And I explain how generosity and giving, when you're giving from the right place, it actually restores you, not depletes you. It restores you. Overholding is what keeps every single teachers crying, parent fears, team tensions inside your body. We need a rhythm of emotional containment so you can stop leaking everywhere, so you can contain what's going on. And I talk about that in my relational intelligence chapter, also in the book, This Can't Be Normal. And you can go get that. It'll be available for pre-order or for order, depending on when you listen to this episode. But learning these rhythms are powerful. So I'm going to go through some leadership application energy rhythms right now. Creating energy on demand is a rhythm. You create fuel instead of constantly chasing it through the next nap, rest, system, software, vacation, whatever. Okay? Simple morning rhythm. Okay? Before you walk into the building, take a breath. Check your shoulders. Are they glued to your ears, or can you release your shoulders? Check your eyes and your eyebrows. Are your eyebrows all pursed up like that? If you're watching the video version, you could see my eyebrows go up. Put on a smile. Not a fake smile. Actually smile and find something to be grateful for. My daughter Hyla, before she goes to sleep, she always asks me for a think about. And the think about is, what is something positive that she can think about as she falls asleep? So I always give her something beautiful that happened in her day that she could think about while she's falling asleep. My daughter Goldie, who's 13, told her, by the way, Hyla, a strategy that I use is when I fall asleep, I make sure to smile while I'm falling asleep. So once I'm laying in bed and I already finished my, bedtime prayer and all the stuff that I do, once my head hits the pillow, I make sure to smile because I end up falling asleep smiling. And when you fall asleep smiling, you end up having really good dreams. So again, beautiful rhythms that each of my daughters have created for themselves around creating peace and safety when they fall asleep. Goldie likes to smile falling asleep. Hyla likes to think about. That is their evening rhythm of falling asleep happy, right? When I talk about your morning rhythm of creating energy, create energy by showing up with joy, not perfection, not fake smiling. We're not doing performance. This isn't Hollywood. This is real life. A second rhythm, which is something that I stopped doing during that year and a half of grief because for whatever reason I was trying to protect myself, but really I wasn't. I let go of my transition rhythms. Transition rhythms inside of my calendar are non-negotiable. Between meetings, there must be pauses. I get up, I walk outside. I live in a gorgeous state. It's always beautiful weather. Sometimes it's boiling hot. It doesn't matter. It's not snowing. And so between calls, I get up out of my desk and I walk outside. Even if it's for 5 minutes, it doesn't matter. Walking outside creates energy. I breathe from the previous conversation. It doesn't have to be a difficult conversation. I love talking to my clients. I love talking to my team. It doesn't matter. It still requires something from me. And if I want to re-energize myself, okay, how am I going to do that? I'm going to walk outside. I'm going to get some air. I'm going to get some water. Even if it's pouring outside. I have a space outside that is covered. I go outside and I sit over there. I get outside into nature. That's my transition rhythm to create energy for the next call, for the next part of the day. right? Another one of my transition rhythms are before my kids get home. Before my kids get home, I have 30 minutes where my phone is basically on airplane mode and I'm not doing anything. I am literally sitting on the couch doing nothing. So I'm not on my phone scrolling. I am not cooking dinner. I am not cleaning the table. I am not washing dishes. I am not cleaning clutter. I am not checking the mail. I am doing nothing, because in the nothingness is where I restore myself from the first part of my day, which was working in my company, to the second part of my day, which is becoming the mom. And that's my transition rhythm. That's how I create energy for the part of my day which I want to show up for, which are my children. I don't want to come home at the end of the day and give my kids the leftovers. But so many of us, and I did this for years, where, well, whatever energy I've left is what I have left for my kids. Just think about that mind frame for a second. Like, whatever energy I have left is what my husband and my kids get, as opposed to what is the transition energy rhythm that I need between work and home, so that when my partner and my children are home or I'm coming home to them, I have the level of energy and capacity that I want to show up for. Now, that doesn't mean you do it perfectly, right? This is the resistance trap that comes in of like, yeah, well, sometimes you don't do that. Yeah, if you come and put video cameras in my house every single day, even though every single day I do a transition rhythm, it doesn't mean that every single day I have the level of energy that I want, but it's 1% better. It's 5% better. That's great. I'm not bringing my kids my leftovers. I'm bringing them the main course. And sometimes the main course is a little bit smaller. And sometimes the main course is a little bit bigger. Sometimes it's got some sides. Sometimes it has extra crispy fries. Sometimes I even have dessert, but I always have main course for my kids. So those are transition rhythms. And I really want to invite you to think about, what are transition rhythms that you can bring into the workday, into home, that will really elevate you for real, not in a, oh my gosh, this would be so amazing if in 2026 I could be this kind of leader, new year, new me, I'm going to start, meal planning it. Stop, just stop. No. What is a rhythm you need to return to that reminds you of your absolute amazing values? And if you want help on what these rhythms are, that is why I created the Leadership Consult, School Leadership HQ. Click the link in the show notes. Let's get on a call. Let's have a conversation. Let's talk about how we can bring this into your center. Another really great energy rhythm is the end of day rhythm. Okay. So we had a client who, for a really long time, when she would end the workday, she would end up staying for almost like an hour and a half after, just to like try to get back to baseline of just like, okay, now I could go home. And she hated it because she didn't like that she stayed for so long after, but she felt like that was the only time that she could get any meaningful work done or all the things. And I said, okay, what is an end of day rhythm that if you close out the day in a certain way, right, where you had a rhythm of closure, you can leave work on time every single day, on time being 4:30 or 5 o'clock, whatever on time was for her. And she was like, well, what do you mean by a rhythm of closure? And I said, we'll call her Kate. And I said, Kate, do you believe that there is a time that you're going to wake up in the morning and you're going to have finished all your work and there's not going to be any work left? And she was quiet and she's like, no, there's always more work to do. And I said, exactly. So if there's always more work to do, then there's no such a thing as getting ahead. There's no such a thing as I stayed an extra hour and now I got ahead, because tomorrow there's still work. And so the end of day rhythm, the rhythm of closure, is you close your laptop, not because the work is finished, but because the day is. I'm going to say that again. You close your laptop, not because the work is finished. You close your laptop because the day is over. The work day is over. And so now we're done. And now I close the laptop. I get into my car and I go home and I do a transition rhythm to create energy. And then I walk into the house, not with fake energy, not with performative energy, with real energy, because I am genuinely excited to greet my spouse and my children. And I'm very excited to hear about their day and who they played with at recess and what they ate at lunch and who they sat next to and what secret their friend told them and what did the PE teacher do at recess today and how the carpal line did X, Y, and Z. And I'm excited to laugh. That's what the rhythm of closure is. I had a client and she used to end her nights, her rhythm, which she didn't realize was a rhythm, was she would end her nights scrolling through emails until about midnight. And I said, you think that rhythm of scrolling through emails till midnight, does that like add money into your bank account? Like, does that put money in your Roth IRA? Does that add money to your retirement account? Does that increase the profit of the organization? Does it increase your brand reputation? Does it impact your quality of the center or your reach or your parent engagement? It doesn't do any of that. Okay. So what if we built a rhythm of at 8 o'clock, you don't look at your phone anymore to respond to emails. You put a boundary in place that emails are done for today. And tomorrow you'll come back to your inbox. All those emails will still be there. They're not going to disappear. They'll all be there at 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. But at 8 o'clock, you're not looking at emails anymore. And it was really anxiety inducing for her. But I said, please test it for 10 days, 2 weeks. And she said, after 2 weeks, she messaged me and she said, for the first time in a long time, I was actually looking forward to opening my inbox and getting to work. Energy rhythms do not take away your time. They do not steal profit. They do not steal anything from you. They restore you and they create you. And they really convert chaos into incredible peace and calm. So leadership does still need you when you're exhausted, but you are not powerless in that moment of exhaustion. You can create energy through breath, through your posture, through presence, not by faking it, but by intentionally returning to that rhythm. Okay, guys, you don't need a longer weekend or a bigger team or more systems or another software. You need rhythms that restore you because you are not a battery pack to be drained out. Okay, you're a lighthouse. You're a beacon of energy, of clarity, of calm. And I think the anchoring thought that I really want to invite you to step into is like, you can choose how you show up even when you're tired, even when you're depleted, even when you're exhausted. And inside of Leadership HQ, we really work with leaders to help them build these rhythms, small, repeatable rhythms that keep you grounded when leadership is heavy. We help you install these rhythms as communication, guardrails, rhythms of escalation with your team. Energy is not a luxury. It's not something you wait for. It's a rhythm. And when you learn to trust those rhythms, you don't have to wait for energy. You don't have to wait for calm. You create it in the chaos. So I hope to connect with you. Click the link in the show notes. And I really invite you to go back and re-listen to different parts of this episode when you're feeling exhausted, when you're feeling drained. Energy is something that you can create on demand. Thanks for joining me.
If you are loving the Schools of Excellence podcast and have gotten any value out of it for your school, I would love if you can do 2 things for me. 1, subscribe to the show so you never miss an episode. And 2, can you please leave us a review? Reviews help other school leaders know that this is the place to learn how to build a school of excellence. And I would be so grateful if you can do that for us. Your help and support makes this show to be able to be listened by the thousands of other school leaders all around the world. Thanks so much for listening, for giving us your time and attention each and every week, and I appreciate that you have joined us.